All right, what's up, virtually limitless entrepreneurs? I'm here with my man Cesar Espino. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and, and tell everybody what you do and why you do it for the people who don't know you?
Yeah, what's going on, Trey? My name is
Nice.
Cesar Espino, and I am from Los Angeles. I am a real estate investor, a business coach, and also an author of two different books. So that's who I am.
That's what's up, man. So, like, what's your backstory? Where did you come from, Cesar?
So I was actually born in Mexico City. I was born in Mexico City and came when I was 10 years old. My backstory really comes back to me growing up in a very poor family, right? I didn't have anybody. I didn't have a huge house or anything like that. We lived in a property, what we call a property or a house that was just 250 square feet, of size. And it was my older brother, my grandmother, and my mom and myself. So four of us living in that, and it was made out of plywood and literally there was no insulation, there was no floors. It was just literally in the dirt and sheet metal and no water, no electricity. So anyways, that was my backstory. When I was a kid, my mom took her own leap of faith. So, a lot of times I'm sure you have viewers that they're talking about, is it the right time for me to do something or take the leap of faith or do something with my life, right? To get to the next level, right? And so anyways, my mom took her own leap of faith. And what ended up happening is that at the age of about 2.5, she came to the States, okay? Which that made a turning point in my life because that changed really the course and the direction of my life. At that time, I started working to be able to support myself, right? And so from the time that I was like 2.5 to about 10 years old, literally I worked at a flea market, selling food, doing different things. Then about the age of 7.5, I actually purchased a sewing machine, and so we used to sew clothing, right? And that was part of our business to kind of get us going. And it's funny because there was times we didn't have anything to eat, and we had what I consider to be the Mexican specialty dish, which is a tortilla with a grain of salt, and that's what we had for many days, right? And so that was my life. And that's really my backstory, and that has made me become the person that I am now. So obviously, fast forward, now I'm here in the States,
Yeah, so what do you think played into you being able to go from that place to where you're at now, where you're investing in real estate and doing all these other things?
It comes down to having a vision, a determination, and also I believe on that saying, when is enough, right? And so for me, again, coming from a very humble beginning, not having anything, then coming to the States and having the opportunity to be here and really taking that to this next level where like I have the opportunity to become and do whatever I can. Why waste that opportunity? To me was that it was just being able to say, you know what, I'm tired of not having what I want to have. I'm tired of not being able to become who I want to become. So why don't I just start taking action and start working through that? So throughout my life, there has been a lot of obstacles, and as a matter of fact, I wrote a book called "You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No." And what I talk about in that book is a lot of the different obstacles that you have to go through life. It might relate to you or not. At the end of the day, it's a metaphor that you can utilize in your own life. And we go through all these obstacles where you're always gonna get this no's, or you're always gonna get the society telling you cannot become this or you cannot become that, right? You're gonna have a lot of that stuff happening. And so what I talk about in my book is you have to fall down and get up and do it and do it and do it again, right? Continue to do that time after time. So for me, I went through a lot of different obstacles. I had a kid at the age of 16. One thing that I made a promise to my daughter when she was born is that I will make sure that I work hard enough so that she doesn't have to go through the things that I went through as a kid, right? After that, and you can find this in my book. I'm not proud of that because I went through some wrong paths too. I unfortunately was in jail a couple of times, right? And so that is a setback. Yet I came out of that and I said, you know what? This is not me. I got to be able to do more. And so I worked in corporate America, having a very good job, way over six-figure paying job, traveling all over the States, and really for work and then for entertainment, traveling all over the world. Except it was not enough because I wanted to do this. What we're doing right now is be able to share the story, talk to people and say, hey, you can overcome anything you want, even when the world says no. So with that, I'm creating now this foundation for myself where I can actually go out and help out people. And the reason why I got into real estate investing is because back in 2007, 2008, when the housing market took a hit, I had some properties. I had invested in some properties. I went down with that, with that crisis. I reached out to certain people so they can help me and really help me save my houses. Unfortunately, they didn't. All they did, they took my money. And I'm like, really? They took the money and they didn't help me out. And what happened is I lost everything. Literally having a foreclosure, multiple foreclosure in your credit is not good because you're doomed for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I decided to get back into real estate to be able to help people and let them know that there's options where you don't have to pay somebody to give you that advice or that assistance, and they can even save your credit. Maybe not your house. However, they can save your credit, and a lot of times that's even more important than saving your house, because if you're going through a financial challenge,
yeah.
Work on that financial challenge, get back on your feet, and then go back and get a house. I didn't have that opportunity,
So what was it like going from your corporate job to going out on your own?
Difficult.
Difficult?
Difficult in the sense of not because it was difficult to do it, it was difficult in my head.
Yeah.
Okay. What I mean by that is that a lot of times, again, we are so fearful of getting out of the comfort zone to step into the uncomfort, right?
Yeah.
People don't want to get out of the comfort zone because they feel so secure. They feel like this is all I need. Yeah. And when they want to get into the uncomfort, they don't know, is the unknown, that fear of where is this journey going to take me?
Yeah.
Many people, what they do is they work for somebody else, right? It's funny to me that they're okay with the fact that they know they have this paycheck, that they're going to get the secure paycheck, even knowing that it's not their company, and then they can walk in tomorrow and lose their job. They rather do that than actually say, you know what, I'm going to walk in today and give my two weeks notice. Well, that was me. I was struggling with that, and I struggled with that for I would say a good 6 to 7 months. I was determined to give my 2 week notice because I knew that there was a bigger purpose, a bigger journey for me. And I was already doing the real estate investing. I was working on a corporate America. And I said, you know what, it's time for me to do this. I cannot do both, one or the other. I'm not giving my full attention to one or the other. So let me just leave my job because there's a bigger journey. And I just couldn't do it. Again, that fear got in my head, the doubts, the what ifs, all of those things that people go through. And so I came to realize after 6, 7 months that, you know what, I need to do this. And so I ended up doing it. And again, it wasn't easy. It's just like anything else, it's not easy, but it's very rewarding. And it's very rewarding. I'm very happy that I did.
So what were some of the steps that you took to get your mindset to the place that you could take that leap?
Yeah, so I would say about 3 years ago, I started in this journey of self-love, self-development, working on myself, right? And as a matter of fact, I talked about that in my book very briefly in some of the last chapters, the things that I had to do to make those changes, right? Number one is recognizing, for anyone that's watching this, whether your journey is to go an entrepreneur or you want to continue to work for a company, it doesn't matter. One thing that we need to realize is that you must work harder on yourself than you do for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that I wasn't doing. I was working very hard for my company. I was working long hours, picking up the phone at any time. I was just very dedicated. And I forgot to work on myself. So anyways, that's one thing that I talked about. So what does that mean? What does that mean to work on yourself? Well, you got to create different rituals or habits, right? Tony Robbins talks about rituals, right? That you have to create rituals on a day-to-day basis. You have to create not only rituals. I also learned if you read the book, The Miracle Morning, there's 6 different habits, or he calls them saviors, that you have to do, right, to get your mind on the right place. So I got rid of TV. I don't watch TV anymore unless I'm with people at an event. I don't watch TV at my house. I cancel the cable, because again, that's all programming that is going through your head that you don't need.
Yeah.
So you change that. You change the way you talk to people, the way you conversate, not only with people, also with yourself.
Yeah.
I read. I read a lot of motivational books, or books that are actually empowering me to become better. And then on top of that, I also do meditation, journaling, and so all of those things, right? So it's really changing that mind shift and really turning that wanting of becoming somebody better than you are, and constantly working on yourself.
Awesome. So how did you find your way into real estate investing?
I did. I bought my first house when I was 24. Okay, and at that time, back in 2004, I'm like, I like this. I felt like that was a sense of freedom to an extent, right, and relief. And so I bought my first house. Then I decided to get creative with that, and I bought another house and another house, and so on and so forth. So I got into the real estate investing by getting into properties. That challenge I had is that back then I got into properties and I did it incorrectly. I didn't have I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anyone that can guide me or help me. I was trying to do this all on my own, right? And so I lost everything, as I mentioned. And then fast forward, I would say 2016, maybe 15, I was reintroduced to the real estate through a seminar, right? There's a lot of seminars out, and so I got introduced through a program, which is actually I saw on Home Shopping Network. I used to watch that a lot, HGTV. Home Shopping Network, no, the other one, HGTV. So anyways, I saw that and I went to the seminar. I enjoyed it, and then from there I just said, you know what, I'm gonna invest in this, and that's gonna be my, I want to do this. I enjoy that, and so from there I pretty much my journey started, right? And I began again, and now I'm buying properties, I'm fixing properties, I'm flipping properties. I'm also doing assignment of contracts on properties, and not just in the LA area. I'm also doing them in different areas of the US.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that are in the industry, and I see that as a vehicle, right? It's a good vehicle to have that can help you. It's not an easy thing to do, believe me, right? However, you can get into that, and it'll help you in many different aspects,
Yeah. So what are the options for getting into real estate investing?
Yeah, so there's a few of them. It really depends on your strategy, right? There's different strategies, right? So the most common when people want to get into real estate investing that have never done it, they want to get into that. The most basic thing you can get into is what you consider to be an assignment of contract, or a lot of people refer to a wholesale, right? You can get into an assignment of contract, a wholesale type of transaction with very little to no money, right? And it's really just structuring the deal, right? And I'll talk to you a little bit about that very quickly after I go over the other strategies. Then you can also do buying, fixing, and flipping. You're actually gonna buy the house, you're gonna fix the property, and then you're gonna put it back out into the retail market for the retail audience to purchase, right? Yeah. Or you can get into buying and hold, so that you can become a landlord, so you're renting the properties, right? You can do that for the residential side of it. You can also do that for the commercial side of it, where you can actually buy bigger buildings, apartments, that you can essentially rent. And those are some of the more basic. There's other things that you can do in real estate. It can be tax liens, it can be buying land, it could be carrying notes, creative finance, and there's so many different things, and it can get very convoluted based on that, right? Yeah. Now, going back to the wholesale, which is again the most common, and you really can do this you can do this in any state. Is really, there's three different entities, right? The way this works. You have yourself, right? You have a distressed seller, and that by itself is very specific in terms of what is a distressed seller. And then you have an end buyer, right? So what you're doing is you're really playing the matchmaker. It's like when you used to, there was shows where you're matching dates, right? You're the middle person. You're gonna find the guy and the girl, and you're gonna match them and see if they're a happy medium, then they become a couple, right? Same thing with the assignment of contract. You go out and find a distressed seller. Could be someone that just lost their job, someone that inherited a property they want to get rid of. It could be pre-foreclosure, kind of like my scenario. That would have been good if somebody would have come and saved me then, going through that pre-foreclosure. It could be relocating. There's different reasons why you're distressed. You're you have this urgency of really wanting to sell your property. You find that person, you get a specific contract, and you get that contract assigned to you. So you have it under contract. Then I'm gonna go out and find, let's say, you, right? And you're gonna be my end buyer, which is another investor, right? That's actually gonna buy, fix and flip it, or buy and hold it. And I'm gonna say, hey Trey, I have this really good property that I have under contract. I want to reassign this contract to you, right? For an assignment fee of X amount of dollars. And then that transaction takes place and everybody gets paid, everybody wins, everybody's happy. And then that's kind of more or less the transaction, right? And so that is one of the easiest way that you can get into. There's a lot of programs where you can get into that. And as a matter of fact, I have a program, I have a mentoring program where I teach students exactly that concept, what we just talked about. I teach students on how to look at properties, how to find the properties, how to run the comps, and how to evaluate a property to make sure that that property makes sense for them to be able to get under contract, and then how they're going to go out and try to go find the end buyer. So I do have a program for that.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your books. Like what was kind of your process for making that happen? I know there's a lot of people that say they want to write a book, but most of them never actually do it. You did it.
Yeah. I'll tell you firsthand, I'm not a writer, right? And I never like to read, right? And so I'm only saying that because if I did it, anybody can do it, right? The last time I read a book prior to my self-development was back in high school, and that's just because my English teacher forced me to read a book. Okay. Other than that, I've never read a book. Now, in terms of writing, I'm like, who's gonna, I don't know how to write a book. And so once I got over that fear or that obstacle, right, it came down to, okay, what am I gonna write? What am I trying to tell my readers, right? And it came down to wanting to give my story and how my story can really inspire and empower other people, right? And so going through some of the mentors that I have, I did get some advice, and what they mentioned is this one formula to be able to write the book, which is 1-10-10-3, right?
Yeah.
And it's a long formula, so I won't go into that. Except it's a structure on how to write that book, right? And I began writing. Now, a lot of people start writing and they never finish, right? And so one of the things that I do and that I did, and it's part of my going back to that discipline that you have to build for yourself, I said every day I'm gonna write X amount of pages, right? So that with that amount of pages per day, I know that my book's gonna be done by a particular date, right? And so I kept track of how many pages I was writing on a day-to-day basis. This happened this year. I was planning to have my book done by the end of February. I actually got it done 2 weeks before because of that discipline. So
awesome.
And that was one. The other book, it was a collaboration with a lot of great people that we ended up writing the book. It just published, I think, in August. And it was the same thing. It was, I believe, a total of 10 authors, and we collaborated in that project, and it was pretty awesome too.
How did that work? Did each of you write a chapter, or a couple chapters? How did?
Yeah. So we all wrote a chapter on the book.
Okay.
And it was really, again, the book is Dare to Be Authentic, Volume 5. Let yourself prosper. And so it's really about that. It's about how to be authentic to yourself, how, what does authenticity means to you, and how did that help you prosper in your life, right? So our chapter was specifically about that, and we wrote about that book. And again, it's a really good project, again, that we collaborated. And again, it's the same message, kind of like that book and my other book. They go hand in hand because both books will give you what I consider to be that ammunition that helped you move forward to the next level. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life or what challenges you had or have not had. At the end of the day, one thing that I tell everyone that gets my book is I have faith that either one chapter, one paragraph, one sentence, or one phrase is going to leave an impact on your life that you're going to want to make a change.
That's awesome. And that's really what it's all about, is making an impact on people, right?
Yep.
So with everything you've got going on, what is your vision, Cesar? You kind of talked about at the beginning how important that vision is. Like, what is it that you're working for? What do you want to build? What do you want to leave behind?
I want to build the Cesar Empire.
Cesar Empire?
Yeah, and all kidding aside, it's really that. I mean, what I want to do is I want to be able to create a legacy that I can lift back for many people. There's a lot of people, not only from the US, like all over the place, right? There's a lot of people that um, they get into their own head and they have all these limiting beliefs they cannot become the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
Right? What I want to be able to do, my mission is that I want to be able to empower, inspire as many people as I can, that they can overcome anything through either my real estate mentoring program, through my books, through my coaching. I'm also an NLP practitioner, so either through me clearing some of the sessions, some of the baggage that they might have. I want to be able to empower people that, hey, you can overcome anything, and I can do that by the things that I'm offering, and by me getting myself out there and helping people in different aspects, whether it's real estate, whether it's, you just need someone to help you clear, things in your mind, whether you want to learn how to write a book, whether you want to connect on how to, leave your job. I have people. So part of it too is that I'm part of this big community. So I have people that if you're an entrepreneur and you don't know how to leave your job, I can connect you with a great person that can help you with that. I have people that are marketers that if you want to create marketing material for your business, I can connect you with those people. And so for me, is really being able to help out somebody reach that next level in their life.
Yeah, you do a good bit of business consulting as well, don't you?
I do.
In your opinion, like what makes a successful business?
So in my opinion, I think it comes down to a few things. Sales and marketing is really one of the primary things, right? I always tell my clients is if you don't have a strong sales and marketing foundation, it's going to be very hard to grow your business. Next to that, it comes down to if you don't measure, it doesn't count. What I mean by that is that if you're not measuring, you don't have KPIs, key performance indicators. If you're not measuring your results, your performance, then you don't know what you're targeting. And a lot of companies, unfortunately, they know that they want to grow to what, right? It's like if I go out right now and I put it out in the universe and I said I want more money, and I walk out and I see a penny, I picked it up, I got what I asked for, more money. You're not being specific. So I tell my clients, you have to be specific on that. And so you have to have measurable targets, KPIs that we can review on a month-to-month basis. You have to have a good sales and marketing foundation, right? And then the last thing I would say is, how do you differentiate yourself from anybody else? So one thing that I use with my client, and I did a presentation for them, is care in terms of customers, CARE, care. If you take that further though, care is customer attention, retention, and expansion. Okay, what I'm talking about is take care of your customers, give them the attention that you want, retain those customers, and expand on those customers, right? When you change the dynamics and you have your customer service people or anybody in the organization, they change the way they think, the way they talk to their customers, the way they write emails and communicate is going to change the dynamics. So I would say those are some of the three main key elements that you need to be successful.
Awesome. So if you were talking to somebody who was on the edge of doing something, whether it's writing a book, jumping into real estate, starting their business, whatever it may be, but they're stuck in their head and they're just not quite making the leap, what would you tell that person?
I would say if somebody's stuck in their head, it will probably come down to kind of what I said earlier. How bad do you want it, right? Is enough, right? Because at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to that person wanting to make that change.
Yeah.
Now if that person has the drive or has the slight wanting of changing, then it comes down to working on yourself. I think that the very first thing you gotta do in any situation is work on yourself. And a lot of people say, well, I don't have the money, I don't have the means, I don't have the time, I don't have, and you can hear all this, I don't, and just a lot of that stuff, right? It comes down to working on yourself. Well, then make the time. Get rid of something that is not producing or is a non-productive action for you, and make the time to work on yourself, whether that's to either read, whether that is to have a mentor. I myself have spent so much money over the years on mentors, right? And so I would always urge somebody that if you don't know how to get out of that, get a mentor that can help you and can guide you and can hold you accountable, right? Yeah. That can hold you accountable. However, you have to be open to that and you have to be able to make the time. One thing that I listen to a lot is motivational videos, and also read a lot of very successful people. Every person will tell you that is successful is that there's no difference between you and I, Oprah, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or anybody in that matter, or the homeless person right next door. We all have the same amount of time. What is different is what are we doing those 24 hours, right? And so it comes down to that. You got to be able to make the time, and you got to be able to make sure that you're dedicated and you have the drive to make that change.
Definitely, man. And there. I want to kind of touch a little bit on you. You said how valuable mentors are. I've seen one thing that I've seen that's really common with interviewing successful people and meeting more successful people is everybody who's really successful seems to have mentors.
Yeah.
And the people who are struggling are the ones who are resistant to that and want to figure it out on their own.
Right.
So why do you think that is? Like, why do you think so many people are so resistant to being coached?
I think they're so used to the traditional way, and what I mean by that is that if you think about it, ever since we were really ever since we were born, you were being mentored by your parents. Now, if you take that away, if you look at when you went to pre-K and kindergarten and through school, your mentor was your teacher, right? It's a different way of teaching you or mentoring you, right? And so people believe that because they've gone through that, I have a high school degree, a college degree, I have this, then I don't need nobody else that may not have those degrees that are qualified to help me or teach me, right? Yet I also realized, though, and I talk about it in my book too, is that I realized that now that I know this, I have a master's, by the way. I have a master's degree myself. And so I'm a firm believer of education, except my education now is more being able to get that mentoring from people that have done it, that can show me and teach me the actual real life examples, right? And so when it comes down to why people are so resistant is because they fear the fact that they have to pay so much money. They fear the fact that they have to actually pay for somebody and they don't even know they're qualified. Yeah. I think that's part of the challenge that people have. I can tell you though that is money is important, and it can definitely solve a lot of different things in your life. It's not all of it though, right?
Yeah.
And so if I had $5,000 and it's gonna cost me $5,000 to get mentored by somebody, you bet I'll throw that $5,000 to that mentoring because that's gonna help me out.
Yeah.
People fear that though.
Definitely. There is a lot of fear involved in making an investment like that, especially in yourself, because everybody is their worst critic.
Yeah, right.
So, Cesar, if you could go back and have a conversation with yourself before you ever went out on your own, what would you make sure that you knew and understood?
I will go back and say, why did you do it sooner? Right. And I mean, it comes down to it. And I'm sure you heard this by interviewing a lot of the people that have taken the leap of faith. We tend to wait and we feel that we have all this time. And to me, it would have been like, man, if I would have done this when I first started doing my real estate and I would have taken the leap of faith, I believe that I'll be definitely in a different position today where I'll be helping out many more people, a lot more people. And so it really comes down to, that's number one, I would have done it sooner. Number two, I would have told myself, instead of feeling like I'm tired, and I get it, guys, I get this. People come from work from your 9 to 5, or maybe you're working 10 hours or 12 hours, and I get it, you're tired, and you come home and you sit on the couch, you turn on the TV, and you just want the time to go by, right? And just pass by. I will go back and tell myself, like, nah, don't do that. Go back and work on yourself. I'm gonna keep going back to that. You have to work on yourself. And so a lot of times we let the circumstances or the conditions of our lives, dictate what we're gonna do beyond that. In this case, we shouldn't let the job, the 9 to 5, or the bad relationship or any of that take the best out of us. Let's work on ourselves. So I would tell myself, you know what? You should have knocked off the TV. You should have stopped, listening to things that are not performing. You should have started reading and just really hang around with the right people too. That's another thing too. I'm not trying to say nothing negative about that. We all have influences, whether it could be family members, it could be just our friends. A lot of times though, we have to be very we have to choose wisely as to who we're talking to and who we're hanging around with. And so I would have told myself, like, Why are you doing this? You know, go and hang around with people that are gonna edify you. And let me touch really quickly on that. I did a video recently. As a matter of fact, last time I came here to Dallas, on the airport, I was talking about I am a firm believer that you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around with. In that video, I was talking about that there's 3 types of people, okay, in that group, in that group of people, right? There's essentially 3 types of people. Number 1, you have people that are playing at a higher level than you are, except they're willing to help you out, right? So you want to be around those people, someone that's at a higher level than you are, yet they're willing to help you out. Okay. The second group of people is people that are at the same level as you are, right? And they're also wanting to help you out, and they want to create joint ventures. They want to be able to create something with you and say, hey, how can we work together? We're on the same level. How can we work together and grow together, right? Yeah. The last group of people you want to hang around with is you want to have people that are essentially below you in terms of their growth, right? Except people that are below you that want to get to your point, that want to get to your level. Why is that important? Is because you have somebody on the top that is helping you. You have somebody on the middle level that you're doing joint ventures. You have somebody below you that as you're growing, you can reach down and pull them up with you, right? And so to me, those are the people that you should be hanging around with, not the people that are going to be telling you, hey, let's go kill our weekend and just drink the night off and let's not do anything, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's really a beautiful way to look at it. And honestly, I think that people take that too lightly. And I completely agree with you that you are the average of your closest 5 people. And I've heard it said another way is that if you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And that is way too true. And it's kind of scary how true it is. 1 or 2 bad influences can lead to a whole different life situation. So you really have to be careful when you bring people into your life, because you really only get this once. Like we only get to do this one time.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's another thing too. People tend to forget that time is running out, right? I've been talking a lot about that in the last 2-3 months. Time is really running out, and I'll let this resonate with you. As a matter of fact, the day that you were born, your time was ending. And what I mean by that is that as you were born, your time was ending because you're counting down. We think that we're counting up, right? Oh, I'm going to be a year. I'm going to be 2 years. I'm going to be 3 years. In reality, you're counting down in your lifespan. You don't know how long you're going to be here. We don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow or not. The point to that is, though, the time is running out. So if not today, then when, right? If not me, then who, right? And so it's like, make sure that people realize that. And I wrote about it in my book too, very, very little too, is that there's a lot of people in their early 20s, I would say, and not everybody, again, a lot of people in their early 20s that they don't really see life as an ending point. They go out, they party, they have a good time, they enjoy life without realizing that they're just letting the minutes, the seconds go by so fast. And so the minute you were born, your countdown started, and so let's take advantage of that, right? And so time is running out, so why don't we do something today to make an impact for tomorrow, and more so, if not for you, then for somebody else that you love.
Absolutely, man. So it's beautiful. So Cesar, what do you have going on, and how can people see more of you?
So again, I have 2 books. You guys can definitely get my 2 books. Right now, I'm part of a nonprofit, so if you want, you can actually, if you want to be part of a bigger cause too, we build houses down in Ensenada, Mexico. And so what I'm doing is, for every book that I purchase, or for every book that you purchase, I will be donating $5 of your purchase to this nonprofit, and they actually have a house build taking place in January, and I'm very close to that because I came from those humble beginnings where we didn't have anything. So you can actually go to my Facebook page and you can see some of the projects that we've done, and you can see how critical that is. So anyways, I have the books. It'll be autographed. You get it autographed by me, and as a matter of fact, I'll be giving you a complimentary vacation to one of many different locations, and it's not a timeshare. So let me make that sure. Second thing I have going on is I am I buy houses. So that's one of my main focus is I buy houses, I fix them, and I flip them. So definitely always looking to get more of that and help people more in that area. And I also have a mentoring program for people that want to get into real estate investing, And I can teach you on how to do that with very little to no money. And so I do have a mentoring program that I will work with you on a one-on-one basis and teach you pretty much everything that I know and all the ins and outs with that. And then the last thing I have is I am an NLP practitioner, so I help people clear some of their I would say baggage that they're carrying, and I can help them with that. So you can actually find me at www.cesarrespino.com.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And for your viewers, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the interview with Cesar today. I want to let everybody know that if you enjoyed this interview, I'm going to need you to go jump into the Virtually Limitless community, because after December, I will no longer be doing these interviews on my personal profile.